All right, today is day 30 of 30 days of sharing ideas and experiences from my book, Heal My Voice, An Evolutionary Woman's Journey. So the question I'm leaving you with today is, what about the men? What about the men? And this is one of those topics I could do 30 days on also, of talking about men and personal growth and relationships with women, and things that I've also discovered over the years. But I'm going to leave you with a few choice moments, and I'll read a few words from my book also. One is that it's always interesting to me when women are gathered, how there's always this point where someone will say, "What about the men?" And so I want the men to know how much we care about you, how this Me Too moment, Time's Up, is not about man bashing. It's about revealing the toxicity of abuse and the way women's voices have been shut down. The men who are surrounding me in my life are interested in creating environments for women to have a voice at the table, for women to express what they want, what their desires are. I first really noticed this with women around the What About the Men at Evolutionary Women retreats, which were back in 2005. And that's where it became so obvious, because at every retreat, there was a point, and it was always around the same time of day, where a woman would stand up in the sharing of what was going on and would say, "What about the men?" It always happened on Saturday afternoon. It didn't happen Friday night after women were beginning to have these connections and being witnessed and speaking and listening. It didn't happen Saturday morning as we were beginning to dive into a deeper topic about women evolving on the planet, our roles changing, how to cultivate our desires. It would happen Saturday afternoon after the small group sharing, at a time when we were looking at how can we bring our voices into the world? What is it in my corner of the world that I could be doing? And it was at a time when women would begin to feel their personal power. Their ideas would be bubbling. Their desires would be bubbling. And then, and the longing for deeper connection. The longing for deeper connection. And that is when it would happen. What about the men? And what I always felt when the woman shared that was this desire to grow and be a fuller expression of herself, but being afraid that if she were to do that, the men would be left behind. So just, this is an idea to just reflect on. This is not, this is an opportunity for all of us, women and men, to really look at the words we use, the way that we hold space for one another. A friend of mine, a man who I've spent a lot of time doing a meditative practice in the last month together, he asked me out of frustration one day, "Why don't women ask for what they want? Why don't women ask for what they want?" And I listened to him that day. I could see the frustration he'd been working with a client of his who was a woman, and something had just come up. Why don't women ask for what they want? And his deep desire for women to ask for what they want, to go for their desires. So I listened. I didn't say a whole lot that day. And then the next day, I saw a video by Lindsay Lab, Lynzy Lab, where it's a song about scary times for boys, which was in response to President Trump. saying that it's a scary time for boys because of the women coming forth and talking about sexual assault. So as I watched her sing and I listened to the words that Lindsay Lab was sharing, and you can Google on YouTube if you have not heard her song. She was also on Jimmy Kimmel. I just saw that there's another video. I haven't listened to it, but that's another option too. Is that what she's saying in there is that women have this thing that happens where we have a desire, we want to do something, but we have to go back in and reflect on whether or not we're safe. Can I do that? Am I safe to do that? A simple one is having a first floor apartment and there aren't bars on the windows. And all of a sudden go, oh, I love this apartment. It's in the location I want to, but it's on the first floor. I don't feel safe. So that stops the desire that's there. And some of those things are real. So anyway, listen to Lindsay Lab. Well, once I had that song and I thought more about it, I asked my friend if he really wanted to know the answer to why don't women ask for what they want. And he said yes. And I said, well, do you have time to actually have a conversation about this? And so he sat down and I sat down in the living room and we talked for 2 hours. Now, one of the things that I said was women do not feel safe to express their desires, but we talked about it from a lot of different angles. And I want to just say, I'm going to read a part of the book because what does it really mean to create a safe space for women? Well, number one, it's that to create a space where you are listening, where the first response isn't to criticize or diminish in some way, but to actually listen, and then to be in a challenging conversation without name calling or bringing in like the experts of, well, all this expert stuff about why my opinion is right or why my perspective on the world is right. It's like, so Rob, my friend, and I went back and forth with this for 2 hours. It's a fantastic conversation. So I want to just read something that I wrote in the legacy part of the end of my book. Women have experiences filled with questions and answers, and we want a place to express them and learn from other women. We want to feel safe to express what we feel and to be respected and honored. We want to feel safe to be vulnerable. We have something to say, and we need a place to say it and to practice forming the words. We want to process what we have experienced and be inspired by each other. Women want to be visible. Women want to belong. Women want to be heard and seen. Women want to make a difference in the world and to be a part of something. I also believe that we want to be challenged. So instead of seeing that we're always going to be kumbaya together, let's embrace that even when stories are written and voices are shared with love and integrity and consciousness, the words we share and the words we read will bring up feelings of discomfort. Let us challenge the things that hold us back: people-pleasing, playing small, feeling unworthy, thinking we are broken, and resisting uncomfortable feelings like anger, frustration, fear. We are so powerful. Feel the feelings. Stay connected to the group and to the process that brings up those feelings. Learn to dance with all of the feelings, letting go of the spiritual bypass, focusing on love and invalidating your other feelings. Cultivate the feelings, give them a voice, and alchemize them into more power. So I wrote more there about women being in their leaders in their homes and their communities. The thing I want to end with Rob was that we saw things differently, but there were he was open to the conversation. He was open to the question. And over I would say, do you really want to know why women don't ask for what they want? And so I gave him different examples of things for him to reflect on about his wife and women who he works with, the clients and friends like me who were in a challenging conversation, and we didn't always see it, but there were times where he would say something and I would be able to say, here, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. And he would say, okay, what did I just say? And so then I would repeat it, and I would give some examples around it. And the light bulbs went off for both of us, where I could see his perspective, he could see my perspective. And then the invitation was, are we willing to make adjustments in our lives when we have those awarenesses? So I sent him a list of, like 5 or 6 things that he could practice in terms of creating an environment. And I'll give you one example. It was a very simple thing. I said, okay, so you ask your wife, where does she want to go for dinner? And she says Indian food. And you've said to her, where do you want to go for dinner? And she says Indian food, and she tells him the restaurant. The way that he would diminish her voice would be, diminishing a voice would be to come back and say, well, are you really sure you want to do Indian food? I mean, the last time we went there, you got indigestion, and then you got a stomach ache, and maybe you want to think about another place to go. And it's like, all right, you just shut down my desire, my ability to handle my own body, my ability to choose something else on the menu, that because I love Indian food and I know that last time, that's on me. That's on the woman. And that's different than saying, let's talk about where we want to go for dinner. That's I'll have an idea, you have an idea, we back and forth. But if you say to me, where do you want to go for dinner? Then the answer when I say it is, thank you. Let's get our coats and go. So just realize those simple ways of opening up space for that. And it's also so easy when we ask, what about the men, to say that we're focusing on men to change. And Heal My Voice has been women coming in to look at their voices. We're doing the work behind the scenes. So the 2 things that I would say is that to men, and to the question, what about the men, is to say, we're studying you all the time. We read your books. We watch films that are by men, created by men. We're observing you. We read about you. We try to give you what we think you want. We are wanting to engage in conversation. We feed you. We nurture you. We even look for different ways to have sex with you, to have it be more pleasing to you. We're in it. We're all in it. And my invitation, when we ask, what about the men, is to encourage men to do some of the things. Here's the call of action that I wrote in the back of the book for resources and tools. Learn about women and notice the different ways that women and men express themselves. Don't try to have us be like you. Go to see films about women that are written with a female gaze. Go to see art and photography. Notice the perspectives of both women and men. Read books that are written by women. Explore history and notice the voices of women and men. Women are an important part of the landscape. Expand your perspective about what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a man. Read memoirs. Expand your view by listening to women and men. Hear the voices of individuals. Create a new normal where all voices are welcomed here. All genders, all races, all cultures, all ages. All right, so that's my final video of 30 days of sharing ideas and experiences from my book, Heal My Voice, an Evolutionary Woman's Journey. It's on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Thank you so much for watching, and I invite you to post in all the comments your response to the questions that I have been asking for 30 days. So much love. Mwah.